So in this one, we are going to set up our homepage or our dashboard to actually display some suggested jobs, locations, and employers. So jump into newsletter views.py into our home request. And here, this is what we're going to do it. So right underneath matches, I'm going to write suggested jobs as an empty list, suggested locations as an empty list, and finally employers as an empty list. Actually, let's get rid of suggested. That's not necessary at this point. So jobs, locations, employers. So that means we have to iterate through each match. And since there's not very many matches, this is going to be fairly straightforward. So we'll do 4 match in matches. We are going to get the job set for each one. So job set equals to match. And remember, we need to get that first object because this is bringing back the match user as well as the percent in a small list. So we're getting that first object, and then we'll say user job set dot all. And of course, I want to check to make sure that if job set dot count is greater than 0, then we actually want to iterate through this. So I'll say for job in job set. This is when we'll actually append these. So I'll just say, first off, I'll just do jobs.append, and we'll call it job.position. And then second, locations.append. Job.location. And employers.append, job.employer name. Okay, so that iterates through all of them, and now we can add these into our context dictionary here. So matches, and then we'll do jobs, and then locations. Better yet, we should probably call these positions to not confuse them with any particular jobs that we might add later. So let's go through and add that. Okay, cool. Positions, and then employers and employers. All right, so now that we've got this, let's go into our template for home.html. And I'm just going to add these in at the bottom. I'm going to delete this extra comment form that we have here. And I'm just going to write positions, and then locations and employer name. So locations, employers. Okay. And let's go to our homepage, and if we refresh in here, we now see that we have quite a few different positions and locations. Like all of it is coming through. But notice there are some duplicates in here. So we need to update our actual loop there a little bit and say if job.position not in positions, then we append it. And we'll do the same thing for the others. If job.location not in locations, then we will append it. And then finally, if job.employer name not in employers, then we'll append that as well. And we refresh, and now we've got these suggested positions that the user can look at. So since we have this, we can also come and look at this and say, okay, well, since we're appending it to these lists, we could also just save these into our user job models. So these recent ones that we've created inside of matches. So job match, employer match, location match. Because that's essentially what we're doing anyway. So we might as well take the time to do it when we have these matches in general. So let's go ahead and import these different models. So job match model, employer match model, and finally location match. We also want to import the job models themselves, or job model, employer model, and location model. So from jobs.models, import job, employer, and location. So down here, we are going to try to get the location. So I'm just going to put these things into try blocks for now, and try exception blocks. So we'll say job equal the job equals to job.objects.get, and we called it text equals to job.position, and I'm going to put iExact here. And then we'll say user job suggest created equals to user or job match. Let's call it job match. Job match and created objects.get or create, and this is going to be user equals to request.user, and then job is equal to the job. All right, otherwise we'll hit pass. But for now, I'm just going to go ahead and print out job match.objects.filter user equals to request.user. So this is just checking to see if that works. So let's go back into our home page and do a refresh in here. Go into our terminal. We're still getting an empty list here, so let's actually see why. I'm going to go ahead and copy these and take them out of that try block. Try that one more time. Not null constraint failed, whether or not they liked it. So in here, we'll go back into our matches for our liked field, and we're going to change all the liked fields to null Boolean fields, so it can be an actual empty value instead of saying Boolean null equals to true. So since we changed that, let's go ahead and do Python manage.py make migrations, and Python manage.py migrate. Run the server again, and let's go back into that home page, do a refresh in here, and looks like our job matches were created, which is good. So let's actually take a look at these job matches to make sure that they are working. So we'll go into our admin of matches, and we're going to go from .models, import job match, and then admin.site.register job match. So back into our admin, into matches, we've got job match, and we have secret agent, we have personal steward, Lord Commander, and Lord. Cool. So all kinds of jobs that are actually now matches. So let's go ahead and do this exact same thing in our views for the others. So locations as well. And I'm going to take this out here, put it back into that try block. The reason I put it in this try block is because of this job get call right here. Because if that fails for some reason, then we don't want to have the whole home page fail. So I'm going to go ahead and just copy this block and put it right in here. And I'll call this loc for location. So location.objects.get, and this one is name.iExact job.location. And then loc match equals to location match.objects.get or create request.user, and then location is equal to the loc. Cool. And then we'll copy this and put it underneath employer. So employer.objects.get job.employer name is the same, and then employer match get or create user employer equals to the employer, and finally employer match. Okay, so let's go back in here, we'll refresh, and all of those things should be either created or show up. So I'm going to go ahead and print them out. So print employer match, print location match, and we refresh in here and we'll see all the different things, and they're in their Unicode, so we don't have that many stuff in here, but that's a good start. All right, so I'm going to get rid of this. Cool. So this is now showing us all the different locations. So let's go back into our home page, and we will create an actual sidebar. We already have our sidebar here, so let's put it inside of this sidebar. So I'm going to copy basically the matches part. Copy this. Paste it underneath positions. Suggested positions. and get rid of all this stuff in here. Instead, put this as positions. And we'll say H1. Pause. Let's take a look at it. Looks like we're having it go a little bit too far over, so we'll have to figure it. I believe it's probably this div class. There we go. So now it's over there. And instead of a H3 for each one, we'll put P class equals to lead. Close off that P class. Take a look. There we go. Suggested positions. That's coming in. That's not too bad. And then we want to do the same thing for employees. So we'll copy, or excuse me, employers and locations. So location. And then employer. Let's get rid of those. All right, so we have some looping issues coming through here, so that's something we'll have to fix. I think it's these divs being copied and pasted on accident. So div class for small, there we go, that's going to be that. We have one too many of these, so this div class goes with that div. There we go. And this should be lowercase employers. And we refresh in here, and now we see all of the different suggestions, right? So suggested positions, locations, and employers. Of course, these could be and probably should be fixed as far as how they're working out at this point, but that's not too bad. And now that we have this, there's something that I do want to leave us at, and that is thinking about this view function right here. This is not super ideal as far as how it's coming through, because the matches, in the case of 6 people, that's not a big deal, but if it's more than 6, if we're doing like hundreds, this is not necessarily going to be the best case scenario for us. So we would probably want to do it more likely when we actually update our matches themselves. So in matches, when we're doing this check update part, we might want to run this sort of user match stuff in general. But the other side of it is we could also just have just a bunch of suggested positions to them that are just constantly going to be coming in, and then when they click on them, we just update them then. And then that's done through like an AJAX call that just updates through their top like 50 matches or something, so it's not iterating through every single possible position suggestion out there. All right, so if you have any questions on what we did here, let us know. Otherwise, let's keep going.